Yes, now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time once again. Let's talk about NXT. So, first thing I want to talk about is the non-title feud between Channing Stacks Lorenzo and Tony D'Angelo after Stacks turned on Tony D'Angelo at Stand and Deliver. In the past few weeks, we've had Stacks meeting up with, I forgot what the other guy's called from the family. I'm going to learn it, though. I'm going to learn it. I had it and then I forgot it. Micah? No, not Micah. Oh my god, I was so close. Whatever. Regardless, and last week, Tony put Rizzo in a safe house. This week, Tony had a match with Wesley for some reason, as you do. And then literally during the match, Stacks came up on the screen and he was getting Tony's attention, and he said he's outside of the safe house that Rizzo was in, which is when Wesley capitalised and got a win over Tony D'Angelo. Tony D'Angelo stormed out the building and then went after Stacks. I like where the story's going. We're making it a personal feud now, where Tony's trying to protect the family. Stacks is trying to make a point to Tony. I did find it weird how Tony won the match. Well, sorry, didn't win the match. Ended the match and ran out of the arena, and then after I had a segment, and literally about 20 minutes later, Tony's only just leaving the building and rushing out in a car. It would make sense that happens literal minutes later, but it is what it is. By that point, Rizzo's probably been hurt by that point that he's left the building. Do you know what I mean? But it is what it is. As for the Women's North American title picture, last week Zarya beat Kalani Jordan, which I was quite surprised by, because I thought they were going to build Kalani Jordan as the next challenger for the title, and then we're going to do a long-term story with Zarya where she kind of sort of win and she's jealous of Sol Ruka's success and she was going to go after Sol Ruka. And that's not what happened last week. So this week in a backstage segment, Kalani Jordan came up to Sol Ruka and Zarya and basically claimed a rematch with Zarya, and they're going to have a rematch next week. And if Kalani Jordan wins, then Kalani Jordan gets a shot at Battleground, which is obviously what's going to happen. Like, it seems stupid. Like, Zarya beat Kalani Jordan, so they're going to run it back, and then when Kalani Jordan wins the rematch, then she gets a shot. That doesn't really seem fair, but it is what it is. Kalani Jordan is obviously going to win that next week, and we're going to get Kalani Sol Ruka at Battleground. Then we had Ricky Sainz in a few backstage segments. I mean, had a backstage segment with Ethan Page before Ethan Page's match against Miles Bourne, and then he was also in the back when Javon Evans was arguing with Ashanti the Adonis, when he made a match saying Javon versus Ashanti next week, and the winner will face me for the title, which is ironic because later when they announced it, it was Javon, Ashanti, and then the Evolve star that was calling Javon out. And the three of them will have a triple threat match next week, and the winner will face Ricky Sainz for the NXT North American title. The only problem is, after Ethan Page lost his match to Miles Bourne, Ethan Page attacked Ricky Sainz, and it looks like their feud is not ended and it is still going, which is good, because I thought it was a bit quick for their type of feud. So obviously their feud is still going to be going on, it's still going to happen, and Ethan Page and Ricky Sainz is very much a thing. Then, obviously Yoshiki Inamura left the company last week, and Josh Briggs is with our partner. He'd had a couple of backstage segments. I mean, Hank and Tank were trying to comfort him, but then Sean Spears came along, and Sean Spears obviously said, God, what's his fucking name? Brooks Jensen. Brooks Jensen, I think used to be Josh Briggs' friend, and now he's with Sean Spears. And then Sean Spears kind of dug the dagger in a bit, saying, Jensen, Inamura, you can't keep any friends, you've got a problem. So it looks like we're getting Josh Briggs, Sean Spears next week, and a little just on TV feud. I mean, who genuinely really gives a shit? I had a couple of Evolve women, who were going to be competing to get an NXT contract, and a bunch of the NXT women showed up and showed their face and was like, this is your competition. Tatum Paxley was kicking off backstage saying, friends betray you, my friends have left us. Obviously, Gigi Dolan and Shotzi have both just been released. Makes no sense because they were the bigger stars other than Tatum Paxley, and it made no sense that Gigi Dolan and Shotzi were released, but whatever. Shotzi maybe, but Gigi, like, she was literally on TV in a fucking title match. What the hell? Which is, I like how they're not ignoring it. They're alluding to it. She was a tag team wrestler, and now she's not just by herself. So I'm glad that they've addressed it. But then Thea Hale and Carmen Petrovic kind of just came up to her, and I've tried to talk to her, and then she kicked off at them, and then we had Tatum Paxley versus Thea Hale, which I can't even remember who won, but maybe it was Tatum Paxley. Regardless, is it important? I don't know, but maybe we're going to lead to a Tatum Paxley solos run, and maybe she'll be successful. Because I won't lie, I've noticed a lot of these women are partnering up, like Carmen Petrovic and Thea Hale are now best friends hanging out. When the Evolve stars were getting spoken to by Bubba Ray Dudley and The Undertaker, Izzy Dame and I can't remember who it was. There was Lash Legend and Lola Vice walked in the room together. Like, we had partnership, and then we had Izzy Dame and someone else. Regardless, a lot of these women are now all making partnerships. Like, just out of nowhere, it makes zero sense. Maybe they're trying to build an NXT tag women's division, or maybe they're putting women as tag teams, so when they move up to the main roster, we have some tag teams for the fucking WWE tag titles. Hello. So it seems a lot of women seem to be teaming up. Speaking of women teaming up, Stephanie Vaquer came out to cut a promo on Jordan Grace, which obviously wasn't going great because she doesn't speak a lot of English. And then Fatal Influence came out, Fallon Henley and JC Jane. Can't remember what happened to the third member, if she got released or not. I'm not so good with names on NXT just yet. It's still taking time, there's a few. And they kind of cut a promo on Jordan Grace and on Stephanie Vaquer, and it led to the eventual tag match in the main event between Stephanie Vaquer and Jordan Grace, where they had to team up ahead of their match at Battleground, in which Stephanie Vaquer and Jordan Grace won, obviously. But during this promo, Fallon Henley and JCJ were arguing with each other. I don't know if this is what they always do in a Fatal Influence promo, or if they're just alluding to maybe splitting them off as solo superstars. Who knows? But it's weird that they're partnering up a bunch of solo superstars, but then the teams that are actually tag teams, they're breaking up. It seems so weird, but we got Christian Rosario, so Ruka, then you got Fatal Influence. It seems dead weird, but whatever. And as for the NXT Championship, obviously Miles Bourne won that Battle Royal somehow last week, and Charlie Dempsey tried to claim the match off him, and Miles Bourne said, how about instead you face Obafemi next week, and maybe you can teach me how to face him. But then earlier on the night, when he came out cut a promo, which I didn't realise Miles Bourne was half deaf, by the way. I thought he had like a lisp. I just genuinely thought he had a speech impediment. But no, he's genuinely deaf, like half deaf. So that's why he speaks like that. And Ethan Page came out, said something about closed captions, said something about reading my lips. No chill. And the crowd did not help. They said, Miles can't hear you. They started chanting saying, Miles can't hear you. Is that not a bit insensitive? Like, I don't care. I mean, if the chant goes, the chant goes. The chant makes sense, you know what I mean? But like, I didn't expect like that chant to go down well, but it did. But it was fun. The crowd was also funny when Ethan Page said that Miles couldn't beat Oba, and then the crowd also chanted, you can't either, which is valid. So valid. But Ethan challenged Miles to put the number one contendership on the line, and Charlie convinced Miles into doing it. And it turns out Miles successfully did it, and Charlie did not beat Obafemi. So, again, Charlie Dempsey's probably going to start kicking off at the group. Meanwhile, Miles Bourne is just going to be shooting for the stars, and it's probably going to lead to Charlie Dempsey leaving the group. And they're probably all going to go their separate ways. So, again, another tag team probably breaking up in the future, just like Judgment Day, just like Legado del Fantasma, just like damn near every tag team in WWE. There's some seeds planted somewhere. But I'm not mad at it. The Battleground card is not looking bad whatsoever. I mean, Miles Bourne, Obafemi. I don't hate it because I feel like Miles Bourne's probably very good in the ring. So it could be a great match. Jordan Grace, definitely Raquel. I mean, you can't hate on that. Most likely going to get Sol Ruka and Kalani Jordan. Most likely going to get Ethan Page, Ricky Sainz. But most importantly, we're getting Joe Hendry versus Trick Williams for the TNA world title. Like, I mean, they've been feuding, and WWE titles have been defended on TNA, and TNA titles technically were defended on WWE at Vengeance Day, but this is the first time the TNA World title is getting defended on WWE, which probably means Joe Hendry's retaining. Or you'd think, I think the undoubted, I think the unpredictable is going to happen. I think, right, because it's a thing that WWE superstars beat TNA superstars on WWE programming, and on TNA programming, the TNA superstars beat WWE superstars. Well, that's not true, because the Hardy Boys won 2 matches on WWE while being TNA tag champs. I think the unthinkable is going to happen. I think Trick Williams beats Joe Hendry, and WWE and TNA have agreed to create this moment, because WWE clearly think of Trick Williams very highly as their biggest NXT superstar. Despite not being the NXT champion, I think it's just like Roman Reigns and CM Punk and Seth Rollins. I think they've transcended the world title picture, where they don't need to be in that picture to be relevant. Literally, they're calling him Hollywood Trick now because he's starring in the Hollywood movies. So I genuinely think that's the direction they're going with Trick. I think they're going to have him win the TNA title just for this big moment. He'll probably drop it soon on TNA, but then you'll be moving up to the main roster anytime soon. And if he doesn't win this match, he's still moving up to the main roster regardless. But that's an exciting match to see. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.